Hi, Saturday afternoon, a couple of successes, a couple of failures. So let's get busy. Okay, now this bike has one thing on it that is different from anything else on any other bike, and that is yellow tinted headlights. Being an endurance racer, and it's not really obvious anywhere else. And you can get away with doing quite a nice build, but I thought it will look nice if I actually do that with the clear yellow, since I am trying to do somewhat of an interesting job. Actually, I've just realized that that battery has got a green coloration to it, and I've just sprayed in that airbox and battery compartment. I've sprayed that white against the black airbox. I could actually put put the green over that. That's not to say that you have to use it like that, because I thought that often these batteries had either clear sides, or a white or a black. I'll have a look at the decal, but otherwise I can do that one green. I mean, white would be just as good. But anyway, back to that headlight. I've never used the clear yellow, and I had to look quite well through all of my zillions of paints to actually see if I had one. Because whenever anyone is selling the clears, I'm grabbing the indicators, the brake lights, and a green and a blue, but I've never thought that yellow would be used for anything, and luckily I had this one, and luckily it was the acrylic. Now you'll remember from a video quite a while back where I was spraying clear red onto the brake lights, and I can't remember if the indicators suffered the same damage, but I was using thinners with that spray without thinking, because it had been a while since I've done that the thinners actually attacks the clear plastic way easier than other spray jobs. So I got a bit of a damaged tail light on 2 or 3 motorbikes, of which the GSX 750 is one of them. So this one, I decided I just laid down a small amount on a piece of glass, and I've got a big container of this isopropyl alcohol, but I just brought the small one just for reference now. And this, I just put a drop of that just to see if it would sort of dilute it, dissolve it well enough, and it did. So I used this to spray today. A very, very small amount, since I was doing only 2 little headlights, and it worked out very well. Just slow spraying from a distance. I did decide to spray the front of the headlight rather than from behind. Now you get sort of different approaches for spraying the rear of lights or the inside of lights. Now these headlights and most headlights, especially with Tamiya, have got a very nice pattern. Actually, I'm not even sure what that pattern is for. Maybe it's to help angle the lights correctly. I'm not sure. Tell me if you know. On the inside of headlights, there's maybe a square. There's a couple of vertical lines, 1 or 2 horizontal lines. And they look very good, but they can sort of disappear if you've got a bit of a thick clear paint on the one side, on the inside. So I decided not to paint the yellow on the inside. I painted it on the outside, which I'm glad about. Once it's dry, we'll see how glossy it is, so I might still need to put a floor wax layer over that once that's completely dry. But yes, do tell me what those lines are for. I can't even think what I'll use the yellow again for, although I must say that doing a clear yellow over stuff like this over something like that can actually give you a very interesting gold variation. And even on a frame, this is the Tamiya plated frame as it is. If you wanted to do a bit of a mod, which I am going to speak about, I am sort of forgetting that one of the ways to get interesting gold variations is simply a clear yellow over a very shiny metal surface. So I must remember that. So I spent quite a while masking that all up. We'll see how successful I was. I hope I don't get a little bit of a white inside spray over there, but anyway, that's the I decided to just do a little bit of a difference on the battery, although I might have to spray green if I want to make it completely correct. Anyway, that's just for a bit of extra detail. Okay, let's get to this one. So the Porsche body, that Porsche body which I was speaking about, which we will get to, the black one, which I said I want to look at doing a very bright fluorescent green, light lime green. So I remembered I had this. I put some onto paper. I was stirring it. I was going to test spray, but I realized that although the cap is green, and this can be misleading sometimes, once stirred up, it's actually only the barest of green. It's actually a fluorescent. I mean, if you put it over a very light green, you will get fluorescent green, but in itself is not highly green, which is good. That's sort of what I wanted, but I need to now find the right sort of green to use and then check that as a spray effect. But I'm thinking of the way I must just test what it dilutes with. Is this an acrylic or not? Probably not. No. So, do any of you use these colors? Not the fluorescence, just any of the Gunzi Sangyo hobby color. Do you just thin that with thinners? I'll test that out. But I'll have to start doing a little bit of test. And I do have the other sort of wrecked Porsche bodies that I got from someone, so I can maybe use that. Okay. The Blackbird, which I was showing you yesterday, I have taken it all off the sprue. It does look like it's all there. The reason why it's in the lid now is that box bottom was absolutely terrible. It looks like it had been open in a garage for a year or two. And that also explains why the decals look like this. So I'm going to shine it so that the light, so you catch the light. Now you'll notice that against the backing, there's almost no reflection whatsoever. And I have spoken about that before. If you see that there's no reflection on the backing of decals, it means that those decals have got damp and or completely wet. And I don't know if it's going to come through, but there's silvering. You won't quite make that out, but there's silvering on all of these decals, which means touch and go as to whether they are usable, whether there's an amount of glue, and whether decal sole and decal set can still let them be applied correctly. I'm thinking that they are possibly still usable, but since I know that the box was pretty bad condition, this is obvious that it got damp. The sprues were sealed in the plastic, so that's okay, but more evidence was that the spring got rusted, which is it's not too bad. It's mainly on that corner there. Don't know if that's going to come through. Anyway, I need to then put that into some acid, which I don't think I have anymore. I'm just going to get myself a little bit of which acid is it now? Is it sulfuric acid to de-rust stuff? Just clean that spring up a little bit. It goes pretty quickly, even if it does sort of eat a little bit of the metal away. This is the most annoying thing about the Tamiya bike kits, is that the tape that they use over the vinyl, which these days I now take off as soon as I can because it's always deteriorated. So the glue is gummy and comes off on your fingers and leaves a residue over all of this, and you need to clean it up. And I have mentioned that I take a bit of masking tape, take a separate piece of masking tape, and as you take that bad tape off this and off the thicker one, try and get rid of it as fast as possible without touching anything. Fold it double, throw it away, and then use the masking tape to dab up all of that glue, both sides. Try and get as much of away as you can. Just keep it in its coil so that you know where all of the bad glue is, from side to side to side, and you get most of it. The annoying part is that Tamiya has great tape, but their models don't. So that's all cleaned up, and so both of these bikes are now able to have some sort of plan for them. Like I said, probably just a different color scheme. I'll think about it. Not exactly sure. I don't really want to do modifications, major modifications. I just want to enjoy the build. Oh yeah, I can show this again. So this is an example both on the exhaust, but very notably on here, where you just don't want that chrome on those pieces. The only piece that you do want chromed is the stanchions. I think that's called the stanchions. But to get the chrome off so that you can actually spray properly, you just need to get all of the chrome off and put it in the bleach solution. So that's, you might decide to live with that if you wanted a really, really bright exhaust. But I've shown you enough exhausts that you do want, that you definitely want to keep. That's exactly correct. But some of these parts have to go in. Interestingly, in this kit, there's an extra fork, swing arm sides, where someone has used the foil. I guess that's some sort of modeling foil, but it's not very good. Anyway, that's an extra set. So I've got the original swing arm pieces. What I did want to say that is a very good positive for the Tamiya kits is they are one of the kits that is closest to being able to be built such that the bodywork is a particular color, the main components of engine and that are a particular color. You can get away with a mildly acceptable build, unlike many other types of models where you don't need to paint anything and you could look okay. But I will be painting that. So this Hayabusa, same thing, although this box hadn't been left open in the guy's garage. The decals, however, also show that same effect, but to a lesser degree. So you will see a bit of shininess behind there. So these probably all usable, but it is worth noting, sort of prepare yourself for when a set of decals has seen damp. I'm not sure what happens when decals get damp. What I guess happens is that the glue, to a degree, seeps into whatever it's touching, and maybe it's the paper, maybe it seeps into the blue paper itself, I don't know. So this, I've never used that, by the way. Painting masks. So I guess this will be one of the first models where I actually use one of those that's provided. So again, I've cleaned that off. This kit has got a very nicely plated frame. And I have mentioned before the difference between the high chrome finish and this plating. So they've sort of got two different platings. I'm not sure if it's going to come through, but this is a much less shiny than this. This is a very, very high gloss chrome, and the frame is slightly different looking. Now I don't know if that's simply because the surface of the plastic wasn't as highly polished. In all other respects, this is very, very similar to the Blackbird. Same, silver plastic, although this one's got more of the engine in the silver plastic, whereas the Blackbird had more of the black plastic. You will note over there that this kit has provided indicators and brake light in the plastic color itself, which is very, very nice. It would be great if they did that on all motorbike kits. Now this one that I brought to the garage is the Hayabusa. So this is one of those models that I got partially built. In this case it was just about built to this standard. And I just wanted to show that as a rolling chassis for the Hayabusa. So I don't want to do one of those just as a rolling chassis, since I already have this one. I won't put the bodywork onto this one. But also, since I have this one and another one with this particular frame color being just the kit color, I am sort of thinking that I might do a completely different frame thing, which is a bit sad in a sense to lose that nice plating that they've done, but for a variation of the bike and the swing arm, do a completely different thing. Now, has that side got on? So you've got those decals which you put straight onto there's 2 or 3 decals that side, and the same this side, which go straight onto that plating. Now, as we have discussed before, when you put the decals straight onto a plated surface, which is about the same as putting them onto a plastic surface, if you were just going to do it straight onto the model plastic, they don't grip the best and they can come off, and I think one of these has come off as I was touching it. Probably a clear coat over that, at the risk of slightly dulling down the coating. And with that, there's no real point to using decal sole and decal set. That's not going to do anything for this, because the only thing that decal sole and decal, well, they do two things. They soften the material of the decal itself to conform to contours, but they also mildly attack the paint surface, softening that to the point that the decal and paint bind slightly. So if you put a decal on without decal sole and set, you're relying on the glue alone, which, some decal sets have great glue and others don't. If you've got any specific ideas for decals that go straight onto a plated surface, give a shout. But I'm guessing that one just puts them on, try not to lose too much of the glue, wipe it off nicely, and then maybe just clear coat. I can't tell if this has been clear coated. It is possible that it has been, just done very well. Now, one of you commented on this guy, who I've now done the flesh color today, and this is one of the failures. Mad Jack Churchill is the suggestion, and I think I agree with that. I've never heard of him actually. Had to watch a quick video on him. World War II and post World War II. Probably if you are interested, you can go and watch a YouTube video on him, or there's more than one. But a lot of daring feats during World War II. So I tried to come up with an idea to mask the areas that I'd already done brown, and I chose one knowing that it possibly was a bad idea. I used blue tack. The end result is that it was a bad idea, and it showed up the fact that the paint adhesion to this resin is pretty terrible. So before I clean this off completely, I just wanted to show that this has got almost no adhesion. It comes off very, very easily there. Just scratching it off with a finger. Now that's not, you don't do that with plastic whatsoever. So it's a bit unfortunate. I got quite a nice flesh effect there. So I'm guessing that this needed to be brushed very well with some dishwashing liquid, some good detergent, and I didn't do that. And I haven't used these models much at all. I've hardly done much with resin. I also don't know if brake fluid is going to be adequate, but that's what's going to happen. It's going to get brake fluided, because that's really the only way that I can get all of this off. I could continue painting, but I don't think there's much point if it can all just come off so easily. One accidental scratch, you know, like that, and then it's off so easily. And manhandling a model for quite a while painting it, I think the likelihood of damage is just too high. The paint should adhere better. So I'm also not happy with the fact that I had to mask and do flesh. So the next attempt I'm just going to do flesh as the first thing. Probably this exact mix. This was actually two flesh colors to try and get that. But at least thank you for telling me that this is Jack Churchill, because I can look up some of the beret color, even though he used a number of different uniforms. At one stage there was green berets, but I don't think this is the green berets one. I'm not sure which one this is. I suspect, though, from what I was looking at, that this is a post-war bust of his, since he was much younger in World War II, and that this is then a Scottish, what was the name of that? I forgot now. Beret, and I'll look up the colors. So he has to be redone. Sometimes that happens. Okay, the last, well, not last, second last. Now I do tend to forget this, sometimes hurrying along. The seam lines, I'm not so used to looking for the seam lines on the cars. So I've sanded that one down, and I'll buff that back to a shiny. It's not completely gone. You can still see I need to get it absolutely perfectly smooth. The other side I haven't done yet. There's that seam line that then makes a curve around the headlight and down the front there. Slightly less important to do it down the front, but for a very nice bodywork finish, you will see that line if you don't take it away. Down the back, it has been run down there, so much less, and then it makes a little bit of a turn down there, so reasonably easy to get rid of. In fact, at the back you don't even really need to do anything, because it'll hardly be visible. So it really is only those two arches. But I am quite looking forward to seeing this in a very, very interesting green. Question now is, do I do a two-tone green, or even a three-tone green, or do I do the white stripe down the middle? Even though it's not British, or I don't even know who used those white stripes if it was only British, but it just looks cool as a racing scheme. Some interesting two-tone green, or just do it the single fluorescent green with a white stripe. What do you think? I think that was all I had to say about that one. And And then just as a last bit, since I've been talking about cars and bikes for a bit, I thought I will just catch up on a quick bit of aeroplane by looking at this. Sometimes Airfix packaged something into a box that was ridiculously bigger than it needed to be, so that they could charge, I guess, for what appeared to be one mega bigger model than reality. Although this is big, the box could have been easily 10 centimeters shorter. So as I have said before, I've never built a B1. I've had maybe two and never built them, got rid of them. So this is the lesser quality one. I can't remember where the other one is. I think I've got a second one. Maybe I didn't. Maybe this is the only one. Just take note. I don't know if you're going to see this. There's a pattern in the surface of the plastic from the injection process, and in fact near the end there's a bit of discoloring as well, so I don't know if this is, I'm hoping the surface is okay. I will need to actually clean this model with detergent as well. So there's the big swing wing mounts, looks pretty sturdy. It does have raised panel lines, big engine nacelles. I have taken off a lot of the sprue. Undercarriage up or undercarriage down, possibly undercarriage down on this model, since it does have sort of a very, very technical looking undercarriage, a lot of detail there. Looks okay. If I have to do just a quick check of warping, that looks pretty good. Nothing too bad there. Discoloration in the plastic, but that's okay. Sometimes that discoloration, which is quite apparent over there, some yellowing there and throughout here, is the oil from the from the, what do you call them, the big metal dies, is it dies? And that sort of discolors the plastic and dries out to that coloration. So I'm guessing that was the case with this. Not the greatest of decal sets, but usable, no problem. That looks okay. Canopy. Okay, it's got very thick canopy lines. Canopy framing, very thick. I'm not sure if I would sand that down. Ideally I would, but I'm not sure I'd want to do the work on this particular model, so it might just go on like that. And apart from that canopy piece, it's just got three tiny little lights. So again, lots of discoloration. So yes, it probably is the oil. Now that I'm not sure what the mounting looks like for that all moving tail plane, but that's one area which may need a steel rod or something. Yes, there's yellow all over this kit. I may need to actually lay it in a tub of soapy water for days. That doesn't look that great, but it looks okay. The wheel detail is acceptable. There's the mounting that they've provided. Looks like it might be okay, but possibly a steel rod instead of the plastic rod, unless they provided a steel rod. But I doubt it. So this would be the sort of model that I'm not fussing over too much, but all of the joint lines, all the seam lines would be quite a mission. Not the most difficult, you know, it's not a zillion parts, so actually not an overwhelming kit to build. So this may actually be one that I start slowly working on. And there's not a ton of internal detail either. Very simple to do the cockpit. Probably the undercarriage is the most work. I don't know what they don't show alternate versions on there. I'm not sure if that's the scheme I would do. I suppose it might look interesting in that scheme, considering that it's got it's got those given decals which sort of suit that minimalist decal set. Yeah, maybe weather it a bit. Now what I will do over the next couple of days is actually try and put together my list of models for 2025. Even though I might not absolutely stick to it, we'll see if I can try and put together a list that